Yep, it's me again. They hate me, that's why they give a fuck about me at the same time. As always, JD Miles, the MGTOWs they love to hate. Even the ones that claim everybody loves to hate them, loves to hate MGTOW at the same time as always, which is why our haters keep us relevant to this day. And I'm back again. Now, for those of y'all who've been noticing, I've been I've been posting I've been posting wise quotes in my community tab. And yes, oftentimes during my downtime, I will listen to wise quotes from famous writers and what may have you. Like from like like last night, I posted quotes from Sun Tzu straight out of his book, The Art of War, as well as others. However, there is one quote I would like to focus on right here, in which that quote will be the topic of discussion, as well as y'all will see the title. Without further ado, let's hear the quote I'm about to highlight.
If you are alone for a long time, soon you will accept loneliness. You will never know your potential if you are afraid to be alone.
If you are alone for a long time, soon you will accept loneliness. You will never know your potential if you are afraid to be alone. Lao Tzu. For the past couple of years, everybody wants to make a big deal about loneliness. Some some wants to mock and shame people for being alone. However, loneliness is not something to wallow in or is something to be ashamed of. As I've grown older and grown wiser, I've now got down to the point of understanding. Here's where I got down to the point of understanding. Loneliness is something to master. And I'll tell you why. You see, you see, everyone's afraid of being alone. I mean, as that saying constantly goes, it's still relevant to this day. I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be lonely. Okay, you don't want to be lonely. We get it. But unless you master the art of being alone, if you don't master the art of being alone, that's really going to hurt you in the long run. Listen to Uncle JD. He's trying to tell you something. And I've seen the damaging effects of not mastering the art of being alone. And in some cases, people will go down find themselves going down dark paths and dark tunnels because they can't master their loneliness. I mean, imagine, I don't want to be alone. I want a relationship. Okay, you get into a relationship, things go good at first, but then you have come to the end of the road. Still, they can't let them go. It's unnatural. Y'all get what I'm saying? Yeah, the relationship starts good at first, but then, it gets down to a point to where the relationship is dying, and now the relationship is dead, and then the relationship is over. One goes their separate way. However, the other who who doesn't want to accept the fact of who don't want to accept the fact of being alone can handle being in a situation where they're back being alone again. They get they they get possessive, if that's the best word to describe it. They can't let go. They can't let go. They so afraid of being alone that they'll stop at nothing. And I brought up many cases of this where people will lose their goddamn minds. Steve Stevens is one prime example, but I already talked about him. I ain't trying to talk about that coward again. They so afraid of going back to being alone to a point to where they will stop at nothing. This is the reason why when most people break up in a relationship and one person don't want to be alone, they get possessive of the other, even though they are no longer in a relationship. Why? Because they don't want to be alone again. And yes, I've seen the ugliness of that situation. From stalking their exes to downright getting violent, all because they just can't let go. In fact, one of the simple stages of healing is letting go. If the relationship is over and there's no hope for it anymore, then guess what? That's a reality all of us have to accept. And yes, myself is included. After all, that was a lesson I learned. After my sixth ex-girlfriend, I decided to I decided to be alone for 5 months before I met my baby mama. And sometimes you gotta be alone in order to find yourself. To find yourself, you gotta be alone to understand your true potential and your actual worth. Two key essential factors that everyone must that everyone must gain in order for their next relationship to have some kind of success out of it. And here's another thing that I constantly hear people complain about, which also is going to play a key role in this situation. Most people who can't accept being alone are the same ones who can't accept rejection. Oh, I bet they didn't see that one coming, did they? Which is true. Which is true. Most people who can't who can't master being alone have a greater chance of not accepting rejection. A person who masters being alone, if they get rejected, if they get rejected by anyone, he or she will have that clear understanding. Him or her doesn't want me. So so I gotta let them go. And I gotta find someone else. If it means I gotta be alone for a certain amount of time, there will be a time to where I'm gonna find someone new. But a person who can't master being alone will have a hard time dealing with rejection. And this is where once again they start becoming possessive. Like it's like these people that rejected them becomes their property. When in actuality, they don't own these people and never will. So while other people is looking at loneliness as something to shame other people about, or wallow in it, loneliness, if mastered, can get you far in life. To get you far in life, whether you want to accept it or not. I've seen people who don't want to be alone wind up in this situation, goes goes through so much stress in their life. They can't handle being alone, but when they are alone, stress, depression, depression, worry, anxiety, and the number one main cause, suicidal. Yes, you got people who don't want to be alone, can accept being alone, don't want to master being alone, and guess what? It gets so bad to a point to where they'll take their own life. They will delete themselves because of the fact that they can't live their life being alone. And yes, it is sad. It is sad that they have to take that route. But if you don't master being alone and accept being alone, then then sad to say, that is a route, that is a dark route that they are heading. And these and these retarded fucks can say whatever they want about people being alone. Because 9 times out of 10, they themselves don't want to be alone themselves. They will lose their goddamn mind. Where a person who can accept being alone and can master being alone, they don't have to deal with those problems because they will know exactly what to do. This is what Lao Tzu meant when he said in the second part, you will never know your potential if you are afraid to be alone. Here's another example. Notice if you've ever been around a person with a child, a very, very, very young child, if the mother leaves that child, oftentimes that child begins to cry for their mother. And they won't stop crying for their mother until their mother returns. But as the child gets older, but as the child gets older, they 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 become gaining the habit of not having their parents around all the time. Especially say for instance, they got to go to school and their parents had to go to work. Will that child continue to cry in the school because their parent ain't around? Because their mom and their dad not around? No. They'll have that understanding that their parents won't be around all the time. And suppose their parents pass away. You get what I'm saying? So no, loneliness is something everybody, men and women, need to master in order to overcome being alone. Other words, you will never gain your true potential. So no, loneliness ain't nothing to be ashamed about. So fuck what these haters and naysayers have to say. As long as you master being alone and it's not affecting your livelihood, you could get far in life. You can handle rejection. You can handle rejection. You can make better decisions. And I'm done preaching. I said what I had to say. I'm done, and I'm out this bitch. Later.